Welcome back to the deep dive. If you've ever felt like, the basics of biochemistry, amino acids make proteins, DNA makes RNA makes protein, then this deep dive is going to fundamentally rewire how you see the human body.
It really is.
Yeah.
We're all taught that amino acids are just structural building blocks, but that's just the tip of the iceberg.
So what are we getting into today?
Today, we were diving deep into Chapter 30 of Harper's Biochemistry. We're looking at the specialized roles of these molecules. Our mission is to see how simple alpha amino acids get turned into the real heavy hitters of metabolism.
The hormones, the neurotransmitters.
Exactly. The energy buffers, the detox agents, all of it.
This isn't a structural story then, it's a signaling story. And I guess the biomedical importance is pretty immediate.
Well, it's huge. Every one of these conversion pathways is a critical control point for health. And when they go wrong, the clinical consequences, especially neurological ones, can be just devastating.
How do we even see that first?
Well, think about post-translational modifications. Even before we get to new molecules, you have an amino acid in a protein. One tiny chemical tweak unlocks a whole new function, like the carboxylation of glutamate.
Okay, what does that do?
That little modification creates gamma-carboxyglutamate, and that's essential for certain proteins to bind calcium ions effectively.
So it turns a passive structural bit into an active sensor?
You got it. Or look at collagen, the most abundant protein in the body. It needs to be stable.
Right, for its triple helix structure.
And that stability comes entirely from hydroxylating proline and lysine residues. Without that, collagen would literally fall apart.
Wow. But the real power comes when the amino acids become precursors for totally new non-protein molecules, right?
Yes. We're talking about everything from heme, which carries your oxygen, to the purines and pyrimidines that make up your DNA.
And the really big one, I think, for a lot of us is neurotransmitters.
Absolutely. The whole regulatory landscape is built on this foundation. We're talking GABA, serotonin, and the whole catecholamine family, dopamine, norepinephrine, epinephrine.
So many drugs target these pathways.
A huge portion. If you look at treatments for anxiety, depression, Parkinson's, they almost all work by tweaking the metabolism of these amino acid-derived signals.
Okay, let's unpack this. Where should we start? Maybe with the carriers.
Let's do it. A great place to start is with alanine, which is often overlooked.
What makes it such a key carrier molecule?
Its brilliance is its safety function. When your skeletal muscle works hard, it makes ammonia and pyruvate. Both are a problem if they build up.
So alanine steps in.
It steps in to carry both at the same time. It shuttles ammonia safely packaged and the carbons from pyruvate out of the muscle and over to the liver.
And in the liver.
The ammonia enters the urea cycle to be disposed of safely, and the carbons can be used to make new glucose. It's the glucose-alanine cycle. It's why alanine is a huge fraction of the free amino acids you find in blood plasma.
It's like a little metabolic armored car.
That's a great way to put it.
So from that workhorse, let's move to arginine, which is way more complex. It's not just a nitrogen donor.
Not at all. Arginine is a molecular triple threat. First, yes, it provides nitrogen for the urea cycle. Second, its guanidino group is absolutely essential for creatine synthesis, which is the rapid energy storage system we'll talk about.
And the third role is probably the most surprising one. It's all about signaling. How does arginine make nitric oxide?
The reaction is just elegant. Arginine is converted to L-ornithine and nitric oxide, NO, by an enzyme called nitric oxide synthase. And this is a really complex 5-electron oxidorreductase reaction, highly regulated.
So why is NO such a big deal? I mean, it's a gas.
That's exactly why it's a big deal. Because it's a gas, it has an extremely short half-life and can diffuse across cell membranes in an instant.
Making it a perfect intercellular signal.
Perfect. It's a neurotransmitter in the brain, and most famously, it's a potent, smooth muscle relaxant and vasodilator. Arginine literally gives rise to the molecule that tells your blood vessels to open up.
That is a serious upgrade for an amino acid. Okay, moving on to cysteine. It brings sulfur to the table. How does it handle that?
Cysteine is key for sulfur management. For instance, it contributes the thioethanolamine portion to coenzyme A, the universal metabolic currency.
So no cysteine, no coenzyme A.
Simple as that. It also leads directly to taurine, which is essential for digestion.
How does that happen?
Well, cysteine gets oxidized and then goes through a couple of steps to form taurine. And taurine is critical because the body uses it to conjugate bile acids, forming taurocolic acid.
And that makes the bile acids better detergents.
Much better. It's vital for emulsifying fats so you can actually digest and absorb them.
Okay, so we've covered carriers and sulfur. Let's pivot to glycine, which I always think of as the body's molecular garbage collector.
That's a great analogy. Its main detox role is conjugation. It takes metabolites that are apolar, don't dissolve well in water, and links them to itself.
Making them water soluble.
Exactly. So your kidneys can filter them out and excrete them in urine.
Can you give us a concrete example?
Sure. Think about something like benzoate. The body quickly couples it with glycine to make hypurate. This is crucial not just for food additives, but for breaking down drugs. It's how we clear foreign stuff.
And beyond detox, glycine is also a foundational template for some huge biological molecules.
Oh, it's a multi-purpose template for sure. When you make HAMI, glycine contributes its nitrogen and alpha carbon to build the pyrrole rings. And for purines, the entire glycine molecule gets incorporated, forming atoms 4, 5, and 7 of the ring structure.
Incredible. Next up, let's talk about histidine, which, with just one reaction, gives us histamine.
Right. It's a simple decarboxylation of histidine, catalyzed by an enzyme that needs pyridoxal 5' phosphate. And as you said, it's famous for its role in allergic reactions, inflammation, vasodilation, but it also strongly stimulates gastric acid secretion.
And it has a role in the central nervous system, too.
It does. In the brain's hypothalamus, histamine levels fluctuate on a circadian rhythm. This suggests it has a role in regulating sleep-wake cycles. Plus, you see these interesting derivatives like carnosine and homocarnosine in excitable tissues like muscle and brain.
Now we get to a really big one, methionine. It's the precursor for S-adenosylmethionine, or SAM, the universal methyl donor.
SAM is absolutely central to everything. The major fate of methionine, outside of protein synthesis, is being converted with ATP into SAM. This molecule carries a high-energy methyl group that it can transfer to a huge range of targets. DNA, RNA, proteins, you name it.
So if SAM transfers a methyl group to DNA, what's the effect?
It acts as a powerful regulator. On DNA, it can help silence genes. On neurotransmitter precursors, it often finalizes their structure. The production of SAM is so important that it's tightly controlled. If the liver enzymes that make it have decreased activity, you get hypermethionisnemia, which is a serious clinical problem.
And SAM's carbon backbone is also used for the polyamines we mentioned earlier.
Correct. After SAM does its job and gets decarboxylated, its carbon skeleton combines with ornithine to make spermidine and spermine. These are highly positively charged molecules, which is key. They associate with the negatively charged DNA and RNA to stabilize them.
Okay, let's shift to the amino acids behind our key signaling cascades, starting with serine.
Serine is another foundational piece. It contributes to syngazine biosynthesis key for cell membranes, and it's necessary for making the carbons in purines and even the methyl group on thymine in DNA.
We should probably touch on the clinical link here with serine and homocysteine.
Yes, this pathway is incredibly delicate. Serine condenses with homocysteine, catalyzed by cystathionine beta synthase. If you have genetic defects in that enzyme, the pathway backs up, homocysteine builds up, and you get a condition called homocystinuria.
So a single enzyme defect triggers a widespread systemic disease.
A perfect example of that.
Okay, on to tryptophan, famous for mood and sleep. How does it become serotonin?
It's a two-step process. First, tryptophan is hydroxylated to 5-hydroxytryptophan. Then that gets decarboxylated to form serotonin. We know it mainly as a neurotransmitter for mood and appetite, but it's also a potent stimulator of smooth muscle.
And how does the body turn that signal off?
That's the job of monoamine oxidase, or MAO. This enzyme starts breaking down serotonin, and this is a massive therapeutic target. If you inhibit MAO with certain drugs, you stop serotonin from being broken down, which prolongs its action.
Leading to that psychic stimulation. And the sleep hormone, melatonin, also comes from serotonin.
It does. Melatonin is synthesized in the pineal body. It's an N-acetylation and then an O-methylation of serotonin. And clinically, with carcinoid tumors, they often overproduce serotonin, so you can actually measure the breakdown products in the urine.
Let's cover the last big precursor, tyrosine, the source of our catecholamines.
This is the pathway for your fight-or-flight response. Tyrosine gets hydroxylated by tyrosine hydroxylase to become DOPA. Then DOPA is decarboxylated to dopamine. Dopamine is then hydroxylated to norepinephrine.
And for that final adrenaline punch, norepinephrine becomes epinephrine. And I see Sam is back.
SAM is back. The enzyme phenylphenylalanin N-methyltransferase uses our universal methyl donor, SAM, to add that final methyl group and make epinephrine. It just shows how interconnected all these systems are. And don't forget, tyrosine is also the precursor for thyroid hormones and melanin.
Before we move on, let's just touch on the master regulatory switch here, phosphorylation.
Yeah, think of it as the metabolic on-off switch, adding or removing phosphate groups from serine threonine, and tyrosine residues is the fastest way for a cell to activate or deactivate enzymes in these signaling cascades.
It's how the cell changes its mind.
Instantly.
That brings us to our final section. Energy homeostasis and the brain's main inhibitory signal. Let's start with creatine, the energy buffer.
Creatine synthesis is a beautiful example of cooperation. It uses 3 amino acids, glycine, arginine, and methionine, via SAM, of course. Glycine and the guanidino group from arginine combine. Then SAM steps in to methylate that intermediate, and you get creatine.
And its function is like a reserve battery, right?
Exactly. Creatine is rapidly converted to creatine phosphate. If ATP is the cash you have on hand, creatine phosphate is your credit card. It's for immediate, high-speed energy bursts in the muscle or brain.
And the waste product from that system is a crucial clinical marker.
That's creatinine. Creatine phosphate spontaneously and irreversibly dehydrates to form creatinine. What's useful is that it's produced at a constant rate, proportional to your muscle mass. So clinicians use the 24-hour urinary excretion of creatinine to estimate kidney function and even to make sure a 24-hour urine sample is complete.
It's the body's internal clock.
In a way, yes.
Let's briefly touch on the beta amino acids that come from nucleotide breakdown.
Right, beta-alanine and beta-aminosubutyrate. They're a good reminder that biochemistry is cyclical. They come from the breakdown of uracil and thymine, and their job is to feed those carbons back into central metabolism as acetyl-CoA and succinylCoA.
And beta-alanine also forms those dipeptides, like carnosine, that buffer muscle pH.
Exactly. Carnosine and anserine. They activate myosin ATPase, and critically, they buffer the pH during intense exercise so the muscle doesn't get too acidic.
And finally, we get to the most critical inhibitory signal in the central nervous system, GABA, gamma-aminobutyrate.
GABA is the brakes of the brain. It's made very simply by the decarboxylation of glutamate. GABA's job is to hyperpolarize neurons to dampen down excessive neural activity.
And how is this crucial signal cleared away?
It's cleared by transamination, which converts GABA into succinate semialdehyde. That semialdehyde can then be oxidized to succinate, which goes right into the citric acid cycle, or it's reduced to gamma-hydroxybutyrate.
And if that clearance process fails,
The neurological symptoms are significant. There are rare genetic disorders where these clearance enzymes are defective. One leads to 4-hydroxybutyric aciduria with an accumulation of 4-hydroxybutyrate in the CSF. The symptoms can be severe. It just perfectly illustrates how sensitive the nervous system is to the balance of these metabolites.
what a fantastic journey. We started with the humble amino acid, and now we see it controls energy, detox, and the entire nervous system.
The essential takeaways for you are really threefold. First, the incredible diversity of products that come from these simple molecules from creatine to SAM. Second, remember that control is all about precise regulation, like phosphorylation or the activity of enzymes like MAO.
And third, appreciate the sheer sensitivity of the whole system. We've seen again and again how a tiny single enzyme defect in a pathway like GABA catabolism can lead to profound neurological disease.
The body is an incredibly fine-tuned system. Maintaining the balance of these specialized amino acid metabolites is just. It's essential for life itself.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. We hope this gives you a brand new appreciation for these fundamental molecules. Until next time, keep learning and maybe wonder which specialized amino acid product is doing the heavy lifting in your body right now.